Introduce this new initiative that I was working on. What I'm doing is an app a month, and so I wanted to show you June's application that I've built. It's not quite at the App Store. There's still a couple of requirements that I need to do, such as adding the terms of agreement and kind of go through some of the App Store requirements. But wanted to show what I'd built so far. The idea for this month is called ListMap, and so ListMap is perfect for someone that enjoys planning their trips, creating itineraries, and perhaps sharing that with their friends. So I built this using Expo Go, using a Node backend with a Docker container and a Postgres database. And so I wanted to go ahead and show you what this application was all about. So I went ahead and did some screen recordings on my phone. I prefer testing on my phone just because it is a much more realistic um, experience than it is on the simulator. And so I went ahead and recorded a couple of videos that I could demo. And so we'll go ahead and show what this experience is like. So the first thing we'll look at is the sign up experience. Pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and show this. This one, we're basically just doing something simple where we're adding a username of sample, an email of sample@gmail, and then going ahead and adding the password. Once we register, then we'll just go ahead and do that same thing, add the email, and add the password as well. And so once we start looking at it, we see that initially the first screen right here, we'll go back to this screen right here. You aren't following any lists and you aren't following anybody. Again, this application is really meant to be something that's shared, something that you showcase and follow people that you're interested in. And so this is kind of the first class citizen page. You're presented with lists that you are following or people that you're following. But we can go through the rest of the list. The first thing though that we'll do is we can check out the profiles, which we just saw briefly. What we can do, the first screen that shows you is your profile, but you're always available to search for other people. The next thing is now, let's see, let's go back real quick. All right, so we go into the profile page, we go into the list, we go into itineraries and see that both of them are empty. We just created it. So let's go ahead and create our profile that shows our name and a little bit about ourselves so that whenever our friends see it, then they'll be able to know a little bit about us. And so I'll go ahead and add a little description here in order for this to be shareable. So I'll go ahead and finish up that right there. And then let's go ahead and add a picture as well. And so just for the sake of it, let's just go ahead and add one of my dogs, Buddha and Zuli. And so we wait a second for the URL to get saved. We go ahead and submit it. And so far so good. So now let's actually look for users. So the user that I typically am going to be using is my normal Hermano 360. And so we go ahead and make sure that that is selected. It might be already selected because of caching, but we'll go ahead and make sure that they are selected. We'll go ahead and click and unclick just to make sure that that's for sure good. So now we go back to our homepage and we see that both of those are now enabled. And so let's go ahead and click on this one. You see get user list. Actually, let's go back real quick and let's just see here just a little bit about what we see when we go into this user. We see their picture, a little description. We see since when they've been a member and also their typical their follower count. So now let's go ahead and look at the view user list to see what kind of list this person has. And so when we start out that, we see that there's quite a bit of lists that we can look at. And so for the sake of this example, we can look at a couple different ones, possibly favorite taco spots, possibly favorite venues. One of the cool things about this is that you can just click on any one of the icons and get more information about it. And so for the sake of showing kind of one of the visions and one of the things that inspire this, let's go ahead and just click on a bunch of the Mexico City locations. And so one of the cool things that this allows us to do is really to visualize how everything plays together. And so in this example, we have the rooftop bars, restaurants, taco spaces, and rooftops. Oftentimes we're given just a list of things that we want to do, but not having a holistic picture of how this all is going to work, it becomes very difficult. And um, really hard to really plan a visit since you can't really visualize or see how things play out. And so with this, the idea is that we see all the different clusters and where they are, what type of venue they are, and it's color coded based on what was on the list. So, for example, pink is the taco spots, green is some speakeasies. So you can see maybe this area specifically might be a good location for you to set up your accommodations. So again, we kind of see how this all plays out. Something else that I envision is if you're actually there. So I'm not currently in Mexico City, but you would see your current location within the overall scheme of the map, and then you'd be able to figure out what's the nearest thing around you, and have that information at the tip of your fingers. And so let's go ahead and click into one. Say we clicked into the rooftop bars. And so for this one, you can see that there is a couple of different rooftop bars that we can look at. Let's go back to the list for this person. And actually, let's move on to an actual example and actually start looking at how we can remix this in order to actually create a real itinerary, and how this could be used to plan a day. And so for the example that we're using, let's go ahead and look at Valle de Guadalupe. It's one of the winemaking regions in Mexico next to Tijuana and Ensenada in Baja California. And so this is a really popular location for people here in LA and Southern California. And so people always ask us for recommendations. So this was my answer to be able to provide them for a good experience. And so for this case, let's look at we have vineyards and bars and also restaurants that we're going to be looking at. And so let's go ahead and look at what data we currently have available. And so as you can see, we have blue and red for the different venues. And so let's go ahead and start taking a look at those. And so if we look at the different bars, let's go ahead and click into that again. Yep, so look at these different restaurants and everything. Here you can see what we actually did there. It might be a little bit difficult to see, but in order for us to be able to use this in our recommendations, what we actually need to do is give it a like. And so you can see here in the top right hand corner, it's a little bit cut off with kind of the screenshot that I did, but we want to go ahead and like them. That way it gets added to our list so we can remix it, and it's basically something that we can now take over. So see how I'm clicking on that one. So now when I go back to my homepage, now we see that both of those lists are on there. So like I said, the main star of this show is the itinerary. So let's go ahead and make that for our trip. Like we go on trips. This is what this is all about. And so create an itinerary. So this is my trip to Valle de Guadalupe. And so this is the big thing that was going to save us a lot of time and make it so we have an awesome experience. And so we go ahead and give this a name, give this a nice description that someone can look at it and know what I am talking about. And so now let's go ahead and start adding different lists to it. And so one of the things that we can do here, on the left-hand screen, we have available lists. And so the idea for this is we would have a menu where the list that you've created will always be shown, since these are data that are always available to you. You created them. But if you have there's lists that you want to search for, either by their title, description, or by the creator. Again, the idea is that you would have saved these lists because these are lists that you had interest in. And so let's go ahead. And so if you remember, both of them had the word Vaya in it. And so let's go ahead and add that search term. And now we see that both of those come up. So let's go ahead and select both of those. Notice again, we're kind of doing the color coding theme here. And so now when we go to see all locations, since now we haven't selected any itinerary items, but now we can see that again, we have the red blue experience. So let's go ahead and start making our day. And so starting from the southernmost part of this, let's go ahead and click on one of them. Let's say we look at Nativo Vinicola. So let's go ahead and add it to our itinerary. Or I guess we cancel it since we just took a look at it. Let's pick one. Since these are right next to each other, it makes sense that this would be a nice one to stop. And so we see that blue is going to be the bars, red is going to be the restaurants. So we've picked 1, 2, 3. Let's say we're hungry. Let's go get some food at Doña Estela. We'll go to a bar afterwards. Again, we see that this is another bar that's nearby, kind of along the way. Let's go ahead and add one more, another winery. And let's say we finish off with dinner at the end of the day. And so now we have a set of 9 different items that we can now look at and figure out the order. So now we start off 1, 2, 3, and it goes all the way up to 9. So it's created a list in a logical order based on some of the preferences that you might have. And so now we can look at this and see our itinerary that we've created. Let's say that we want to change up the order a little bit. Now that we've looked at it, change from 1 to 3. So now by changing it on list, now we can see it reflected on the map as well. And so let's say this is something that we're happy with. Now this is saved. And so now when this is saved, now we can see our data as well as the source data that we use to create it. And so if we get out of this and go back into it, we see that our data is in there along with the source list that we use to create it. And so again, we go to me, but pretend like we are somewhere in here and we'd be able to see how this all worked out. And so I've referenced the idea of creating your own list. So let's go ahead and create our own list that I'll show you what that experience is like. Let's say that we want the best ramen spots in Little Tokyo. So let's go ahead and we'll try that. And so just an excellent collection of tasty ramen spots. And so at this point in the video, when I went ahead and tried to get the link, it wasn't saved in my clipboard, and so I went ahead and had to stop the video, get it, and start over. So let's start off where we finished off. And so one of the things that we see here is that we can save without including a link. So typically the formats that these lists are going to be is we have the name of the place that we've been to, of the list that we want to create, description, and then our username. So in this case, it doesn't really make sense because it is us that created it. But if we were looking at another list, it would be useful to know who the user was that made it. And so let's go ahead. We'll also show the editing of a list. And so we'll go ahead and go back into this. Let's say we now go ahead and look at the recommendations from Instagram. And let's go ahead and include this link now that we have it. And so now we can submit it. And so now what's cool is that we can now link externally from the website in case you want to add links or see something else. So let's just go. I mentioned Instagram, so now we're in Instagram.
Tokyo. That depends. Most people have like the entry level, which is like Shinsen Gumi. After you figure out you want something a little thicker, you go to Daikoku.
So you get the picture. So now this is a good place that we're getting our information from. Maybe it's not something that we came up with ourselves, but something that we now want to save and document ourselves. So the first venue he said was Shinsen Gumi, and so he said a nice little entry level ramen spot. We'll go ahead and continue on with that. We'll also show the Google autocomplete. So in this one, you see that there's a couple different options. And so let's see, for some reason, the downtown one isn't coming up. So let's go ahead and add a little bit more information. And now you can see that we selected the one that we needed. And so you see that it is correctly in Little Tokyo. So let's go ahead and add another one. The next one he mentioned was Daikokuya. And so this is a little thicker ramen, a little richer. And so again, we can just literally if we don't have the address, just type in the name of the venue that we want. So now you can see that we're kind of starting to map it out together. It makes sense. They're all really close to each other. Let's go ahead and add the next one, Hachi Oji. And so this one's going to be a lighter ramen that tastes more like chicken noodle soup, has excellent dakchosu and some kima curry. So we'll go ahead and type that out. So let's go ahead and choose that. Again, it's going to be the first one on there. Again, you can always add more information, or if you did actually have the address, then you can go ahead and type that in. But typically, if you just have passing knowledge of the place, you might not have the actual venue, the actual address. And the idea is that we're trying to not go back and forth between Google Maps and look up the address and have to put it in. If you can just know the name of it and what you typically look for in Google, then that's enough information for us to be able to find that for you. And so again, we're almost done. Orochon is the next place. And so excuse my pronunciation. This is maybe for a little bit spicier experience. We can skip through a couple of these. And so we go through. And so now we have our list of ramen places that we've now saved and collected. So now when we go back to our page, we see that homepage, this is now our list, everything's saved. We go back to our samples, see our view list, and now you can see that when we send it to the data, now it's all in there. So now it's in that experience, and this is pretty much ready to go for any sort of list remixing or any sort of itinerary creation that you might be interested in. And so hopefully this showcases the application, and there's still a lot of improvements to be made. We are still working on a little bit of the design elements, trying to figure out the best user experience. But for the most part, the main idea is here. I'm really excited about going on a trip next time to be able to use this, really plan it out. I think this could be something that's really useful for people. The next plan that I have for this that I think would be an awesome experience would be creating a companion web application for this. So the idea is that the application is probably going to be for power users. One of the things I've noticed in my research is that not a lot of people have like lists like this that they're really keeping track of, that they're the experts or the connoisseurs in. Oftentimes they're going to be consumers of this experience. And so what I think would be cool is having a side web experience where you can pass in either from a list or from an itinerary, give it an ID, either itinerary ID or the list ID. And what it would do is it would just fetch that information from the database and give you a read-only access so that you can visualize it and see it. Again, the idea is that it's for someone that maybe doesn't want to download the application, but you just get the website, get the experience, see all the pins, see all the lists, and it's ready to go for you to be able to see. And then if someone is interested in actually editing it, then they can download the application and it would just be a much better experience. But this is the idea that I had for the month of June. And so just gearing up for just wrapping this up and then gearing up for the next month. Stay tuned to find out what the next application is. Thank you for tuning in.